Hello and welcome back to another video. This week I'm going to go through the work I'm doing to prepare for my second year at Oxford. I managed to pass my prelims, my first year exams, so unfortunately for them I will be going back. I managed to pass my 4 exams comfortably, 3 of them comfortably, 1 of them really quite well, which I was really pleased with. So yeah, we're currently on a walk in the woods. That's my sister, Olivia, and I will beam myself back to my room to talk you through the huge pile of books that I have to read. But before I do that, if you like this video, give it a cheeky thumbs up. If you have any questions about what I'm reading or about just anything really, stick it in the comment section below. I will respond, I promise, to the best of my ability. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing. So, tree, let's get into it. Okay, so here we are. I have my massive pile of books to talk you through. But before I do that, I'm just going to discuss what I'm actually doing this next year. So last year I had a lot of oral classes. I had a lot of sort of language classes, translation, grammar, what have you. And next year that stays the same. And what changes a little bit is the literature, because next year I have choices. I can choose what I do for literature, and the first big thing you choose is your period paper. So you have to do this paper. You either do modern literature, early modern literature, or medieval literature. So they essentially cover different periods of time. I have chosen to do medieval literature for both Spanish and French, for several reasons. Because 1, I really enjoyed the medieval text that we did in first year. 2, they tend to be a bit shorter. 3, I prefer the topics that you talk about in medieval texts. So things like authorship, the ideas of authorship, lyricism, and I'm just quite a big fan of sort of stories being told through poems and songs. So let's get into it. In French, we had to pick several topics from an early medieval period and a late medieval period. So, from the early medieval period, we have Le Roman de la Rose, written by Guillaume de Loris and Jean de Meun through a very long period of time. Guillaume de Loris started it, and Jean de Meun, about 100 years later, finished it off. It's incomprehensible. Even with the translation, it is metaphorical, allegorical, and ends with, and it was all a dream, I woke up, that sort of thing. Was not the biggest fan of this. Yeah, it's huge. Okay, moving on, because I don't really want to talk about that anymore. The next topic is Chrétien de Troyes, who wrote several Arthurian tales, so based on King Arthur in French. I really quite enjoyed these. So we have Eric et Enid, so the story of Sir Eric, I guess, and Le Chevalier au Lion, the story of Sir Ivan. They're just quite good fun. They have great stories, and some very interesting plots to them. I'm a fan of Arthurian tales in English, and in French, in this sort of, let me show you, poemy format. They're really quite good. So, that's those 2. Next up, we have the chanson de geste topic. So these are extremely ancient. I mean, it's all ancient, it's medieval, but extremely old, sort of chivalric tales. So we have Raoul de Cambrai and La Chanson de Roland. Now, you may have heard of La Chanson de Roland, because it is possibly the most famous medieval French text there is. It is considered to be the first French story, essentially. They're quite similar in the sort of things that they tackle, but they do have very different stories, and they're both interesting in their own ways. The thing I find quite funny about these is the very gory descriptions of battles, and how repetitive they are. So someone will get killed in one way, sort of there'll be a page worth of description for how they're killed and how it happens, and on the next page someone else will be killed in almost word for word exactly the same way. So I find that quite interesting and quite funny. So yes, I read these while I was in Italy, and I really enjoyed them, even though they can be quite gruesome and they can be quite unimaginative at times. Next up, we have early French theatre. So I actually haven't read these yet. These are Adam de la Halle's œuvre complète. Adam de la Halle was a French writer. He wrote plays, he wrote, what are they called? Jeux partis, which are sort of political discussions in, again, a song-like form. He wrote songs, he wrote the music for songs as well, so he did a lot of different things. So I haven't read the 2 plays that are in here yet, and I still need to buy a book to look at a 3rd play. We need to look at 3 plays for this. In fact, I might buy 2 books to look at 4 plays. It depends on what I feel like I can get out of the first 3. So I will have to see how those go. And finally, for French, the fabliaux érotiques. This topic is the fabliaux topic. It is hilarious. So when I was reading La Châtelaine de Vergy and watching the lectures for it in first year, that was the medieval text we studied, the fabliaux genre was mentioned by the lecturer, and they said it was very entertaining. So when I saw it as a topic for this period paper that I'm studying next year, I thought, oh, do you know what? Let's go for it. It is essentially, husbands and wives, men and women, cheating on each other, and then describing that cheating to each other. That's not the essence of it. That's an example of one story, but it's just tales of a sexual nature. They're just, I was not expecting it, so when I got into it, I was like, whoa, okay. The first one I read was quite metaphorical, and sort of I understood it and what was happening. And then as I went through and read 2, 3, 4, 5, I realised how explicit some of them were being. Very entertaining. The lecturer didn't lie, very entertaining. I just wasn't quite expecting it to be that. But yes, very, very good fun. Okay, now moving on to Spanish. So, I have only just started reading the Spanish texts. So I've only just started reading Poema de Fernán González. So this is a long poem, again, a ballad, written about Fernán González, I believe, Castilian lord who fought against the Kingdom of Leon, I believe, again, don't quote me, as well as the Moors who had invaded Spain at the time. These are very similar to the ones that I read last year in the ballads paper that we didn't get examined on in the end, but I still read them. And they're just, I think, a great way of telling stories. So yeah, that's that one. Next up, and I can't tell you much about these, I'm afraid, we have Libro del Caballero Cifar and Milagros de Nuestra Señora. So once I have read these in another video, I'll update you on what I think of them. But I think they're fairly similar. As you can see, they're in a poem form again, so, well, ballad form. So I'm really looking forward to reading those. I'm going back to Oxford on the 25th of September, and I'm quite pleased with the pace of my reading. It feels like I'm on top of things, it feels like I'm ready to go, and if I have time, I might even see if there are some online lectures that I can watch. It's unlikely that there will be because everything's going back in person now, as far as I know. So, yes. If you're wondering how I understand ancient French and ancient Spanish, which is different enough from Spanish and French to be considered other languages, I would say. It's like Old English and how different that is from modern English. Well, the Spanish is not too bad. It is fairly understandable, and once you, what I found last term, once you start watching lectures, once you start reading around the text, you really start to understand it better. And then for the French, these livres de poche lettres gothiques editions are really good, because on one side you have the medieval French, and on the other side you have the translation. So one, it makes you feel like you're reading a lot more than you are, because you're doing every 2 pages essentially. I'm only reading the modern French at the moment, just so I understand the stories. And 2, it means that you actually understand what you're reading, which is brilliant. I would understand the medieval French, but it would just take me a lot longer to get through it. So that's why I'm reading the modern French translations. So yeah, that is the end of this video. If you have any questions about my next year, my second year, what I'm doing, what I think I'm going to be doing, because I'm still not 100% sure, then please put them in the comment section below. I will answer them. If you have any questions about the stack of books that I have, please put those in the comment section below as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you want to follow me through my second year at Oxford. It's getting a lot closer, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned.